video is a personal reflection on some core topics that I feel may be relevant, maybe to you watching or whoever's watching, and just simply a process of my own self-journaling, as much of the social media has been. That's really been a reflection actually over the past year. I've been in the space of social media and sharing and all that for almost 10 years now, and I've gone through a lot of waves, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of um, phases in terms of inspiration or the desire to share, the desire to express, and quiet, deep quiet, deep quiet and silence that is not provoked really to share anything because there's maybe on the surface externally so little going on or such a normal life being lived, but in the internal space, a whole world of happenings that actually silences you, paradoxically. It silences you into the vastness of your own path and your own journey and the sacredness of the intimacy and the private nature of that, right? In social media now, with kind of this live journaling process, we have the ability to share anything and everything at any time. And this has been really a refinement in my own journey of seeing, well, what's really actually necessary to share? What is maybe just for me at this time, just for me to explore and integrate and embody. I just posted a little quote on my Instagram stories by St. Francis, and it was something along the lines of, so many speak the peace or speak the love or speak the awakening or speak the realization or speak the, yada, yada, yada about the spiritual path that they may be on and the benefits or the qualities or the accomplishments in which maybe they have come into. And very few actually come to embody that in equal measure. Not that they're not completely, not on some level, but in equal measure or even greater within the silence of their own heart. And this has been something that I've really taken to heart in different ways, because this quote really is just an exemplification of many of the things that I personally have explored over the past year or two, of really silencing and humbling myself in regards to what's being shared, or this industry we call personal development and spiritual coaching and wellness, and this idea of sharing and making a business around much of that sharing, because that's very much what it is at times. Even if it's coming from a pure intent, there may be other intentions or other practicalities involved with that. And in my experience, the more matured we get on this spiritual path, and the more adept we actually become, masterful we become, there becomes an even more deeper refinement on those elements, this very new element of spirituality as a business, if you will, or as a career path, or all of that. It sounds so funny to speak of it in that way, and that's something that has been humbling. But I've also come to balance it with the perspective of the beauty of sharing through social media, the beauty of expression, the beauty of connection in this way. I've shared it over the past while how difficult actually it's been to make videos like this one, for instance, where I'm just kind of coming up with an idea or there's an inspiration, and I'm sharing it to this black screen, the black mirror of the phone, and going to share it with many other beings. And I find when it becomes too much of that, where it's kind of too much of conjuring up ideas to then share it, and then it becomes this kind of very, very almost intellectual approach, or means to an end approach. We actually lose connection. We think we're connecting more and more with more people, but the connection actually is not necessarily as strong. And again, it's all in balance, right? Because we can be sharing to millions of people in a video like this and feel very connected, and we also can share to very few people, intimately in our life, and still not feel very connected. So it's not necessarily a black or white thing, but I find, at least for my own processing, because so much of the depth of my own journey had been unfolding for so many years, it's actually silenced me in the desire to share. I feel like, when I watch a lot of the people that are very prominent in the space, in different ways, often younger individuals on social media, I remind myself of how I used to be like that, maybe 6 to 8 years ago. I felt I was very excited, very passionate. It was a much different space of how videos are created than I create them today. And it's just so interesting to see the sometimes lack of inspiration that I feel in terms of sharing content. Nowadays, because of the just, I don't know what the depth of the journey at this time, and the seriousness on some level of the journey, because we have to remember this path that we're each on, and this time period that we're living in on this planet is actually very serious in many ways. As much as it can be easeful and freeing and peaceful and funny, we can make it funny too, because it often is when we look at the state of the world, state of our own life, state of the dynamics of our experience. God is humorous in so many ways. But there is a seriousness, and there is an importance of our silence at times. We've been in a flow collectively of empowerment, of speaking out, speaking maybe against oppressive factors or things that we do not align with, being able to speak our opinion freely. This has been very much a topic over the past year or two, and why maybe we can see the rise of so many sharing more and more. Um, but I feel it does have to be balanced with the inner silence and the silence of our being, where we really can confide in it and embody that and come into that silence with a profound focus, so that what is to be revealed can be revealed, and we can come into that clarity within our own path and our own journey. Because, of course, as much as we are to be of service, what we are of service of and as is a product of our beingness. It's a product of the peace we've come to. And so no amount of talking on video, no amount of expressing, no amount of building a brand, or coaching individuals and all that, no amount of that is going to hide, or it's really nothing in the face of your own inner turmoil, or your own inner peace. It comes down to that, and solely that, and that is going to be the energy we're emitting in all ways. And so I feel this is the integrity and the humility that I've constantly reminded myself of, to focus on those periods of quiet, or the periods of not really creating much or putting things out, so that that foundation can be developed in a rock solid manner. That peace like mountain can be created and embodied truly. Right. And so when we come in to reflect, hopefully people can feel that on some level, in whatever it is that we're sharing, all of us, whatever it is that we'd like to share, whether it's music or videos or teachings or, art in all forms, movies, and, humor, comedy. There's so many forms of creation. And, recently I've been very much into musical flows and creating music, and it does silence you, because you start to enter a new realm of creativity, a new realm of translation of that energy. It's not just in the voice, as I've often shared, through videos and a lot of written content over the years, but an expression of frequency and sound, which is the same but not the same. It's also very different, and can still convey, all of it can convey that silence. We can speak for hours and still convey silence, which is interesting, right? But silence is also very powerful too, and that's why we come inwards and we meditate and we commune with God Source in that way. So, so this video, I don't even really know what exactly I'm communicating here, other than some personal reflections and just what I've explored in many ways. And I do feel a new momentum of sharing coming, and I feel a bit more comfortable again sharing in this way on camera like this, because often I find I don't even really know what to talk about until someone asks something. Until when I have a question, or when a question comes from someone, there's an infinite amount of knowledge that can flow. But until then, often things are very quiet, or unless I'm probed by maybe something collectively or something I observe on social media that I come to, and it ignites something. But a lot of times, the only thing I really can share maybe is my own path and what I'm experiencing, and I feel more comfortable than ever to be doing that in more intimate ways, because I felt, as much as I have done that in the past, I've felt I have had many opportunities to share in even more intimate and authentic ways as to my own personal process, and I feel there is much more value in that than ever before, right? Where it's not necessarily coming as a teaching or as an expertise or a completed idea, in the form of how we often like to present things, especially in this world, this industry, but rather just a personal, honest reflection of exactly what's occurring. And so for me, this is one of them. A momentum of sharing in this way again, as I've done over many years, and a message also of honoring our own phases, honoring our own flows, honoring our own rhythms, because the way that our individual journey needs to look is, it doesn't need to look like anything. That's the funny part, and it doesn't need to look like anybody else, and it doesn't. There's no set way in which it's meant to look. And just because it looks in a particular way doesn't necessarily mean it represents anything in particular. We may think that, like for instance, someone coming on these videos may think that there's a expertise or something of the teachings that I've shared over the years. And although that may very much be the case, it doesn't necessarily mean that. We would hope it is, obviously, because I'm sharing these things in an authentic way. But the example is that we have to feel what is being shared. And that could just be one video. Somebody could just make one video in their lifetime and share something so impactful, and nobody really knows who they are, but that impact really carries, right? And that frequency really carries. It's imprinted itself within the field, versus someone making videos all the time and in front of millions and riding the hype train or the trend train, as we see with a lot of people who have come and gone in this world, this space of social media, and continue to. Well, it doesn't necessarily mean the encryption is there. It means they could be sharing something legitimate, or there could be something that's quite powerful, but it could be riding algorithms, it could be riding trends, it could be riding great marketing, it could be riding all kinds of approaches, it could be riding money, it could be riding support by other specific people. So the funny thing is, everything is perfect because collectively, when we see certain patterns of trends or certain people coming and going in the rising and falling of these kind of momentum waves when it comes to sharing and virality and content, it's always kind of a product of the consciousness. It's a product of the astrological movements. It's a product of where collectively we're at and what we're ready for. I laugh sometimes in seeing some of the content that now is really riding the trends that some of us may have been in a decade ago or more, and nobody was interested. So timing is very important too. And so I feel we're all feeling that timing in some regard in our life, because of the many things that are happening, and as we're coming into this kind of point of no return in terms of what we can learn and how fast we can learn and how efficient we can come into this path of truth and awakening and love and healing. It's happening faster than I've ever seen it ever before, in this lifetime and many others, right? So it's a very funny thing, but I feel good with this message, at least for today, and we'll see what else comes, of these videos over the next period. I feel a bit more consistency in this regard, and make sure you've checked all the platforms: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, ayp.life. Subscribe, follow, just connect. This is always nice to connect with new people and just to hear and see what people want to hear from, about, and share together in this journey, in this process. So deep love, and I'll see you soon.